Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. I have to apologise for mine and Chris's appearance. We are slightly hungover after the FBAs last night. Chris, please, can you tell us about the FBAs last night? We got a little surprise.
Well, we had a rip-roaring time, didn't we? And thanks to you guys voting at home, we won Best International Channel yet again. Second year in a row. We're like Unai Emery at Seville right now, aren't we? Back-to-back Europa Leagues. So thank you very much. And Sonny Snelling enjoyed himself in particular, of squad goals fame. I mean, it's like shooting fish in a barrel when he goes out.
Yeah, a little chunder in the taxi on the way to the station.
Oh. Can you smell what the Rock is cooking?
Great.
Every female in a mile vicinity.
Absolutely.
Jesus Christ.
Horrible. But let's get straight into the show. Because the Haas Kareem has asked our question for today, which is, considering that Barcelona has spent 30 million plus in recent windows, has their project been a bit of a failure given their embarrassing Champions League exits? You can say that again on the embarrassing Champions League exit front, but Pato, what is your opinion on the Barcelona project? Do you think it's a failure?
I don't really know what their project is. Like, I mean, a project has an aim, and I think Barcelona's aim has been to replicate the incredible success that Luis Enrique enjoyed and Pep Guardiola before him, and that's, I mean, on that front, they haven't really succeeded. I've said this before, I do think it's a matter of small margins. I think that actually going out to Liverpool is not that embarrassing if it doesn't come with a 4-0 second leg defeat.
Considering the first leg.
Yeah, I think if the goals had been more evenly distributed between the two legs, it wouldn't look that bad, because Liverpool are fantastic and Barcelona are very Messi reliant.
Do you think he might become a victim of this kind of the aftermath of two consecutive Champions League exits in that sort of emphatic manner?
You mean Valverde?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being embarrassed is something that Barcelona don't take well to, and these exits, regardless of whether they should be viewed as embarrassing, they are being viewed that way. And overall, Barcelona do make decisions based on that kind of stuff. But I think that there's just like no coherent plan in their spending. Like often they buy good players, often they buy great players, but they don't necessarily buy the right players. So if you look at their big signings over the last few windows, yes, you could say like Lenglet's a hit, Semedo has plenty of time to become a hit, we assume Frankie de Jong will be a hit, but Andre Gomes was never right for them and was never good enough for them. Malcolm, not right for them. Coutinho, amazing player, arguably the best player in the Premier League at the point when he left, not right for Barcelona, like which I said at the time. I mean, I was always anti that move, and to me that's the issue with Barcelona, like the lack of joined up thinking. And if they let Valverde go this summer, then the question is, who do they bring in, and how much control does that person have over the signings they're going to make? Because fundamentally, I think that Barcelona have been a really poorly run big club. And this summer, it looked like everything was going to change, right? It was like De Jong is coming in. It looked like they were going to get Rabiot on a free. It looked like they were going to bring in De Ligt. It looked like they were going to bring in Luka Jovic. And that was going to be an amazing overhaul. I was really excited for that, because that sounded to me like we know what we're doing. We're getting the best young talent in the world. We are going to spend for them. But then we've got our team sorted for the next 10 years. And now it looks like Jovic is going to go to Real Madrid. De Ligt is certainly not locked up. Rabiot, God knows what's going on. And so if it ends up this summer with them just kind of getting De Jong, then I start to worry again, because they've been held to ransom on Jordi Alba's contract at left back too. So I kind of feel like it's a bit half measury. They're kind of the champagne version of what Arsenal were under Wenger, where they had every possible tool they needed to go out and rebuild the squad the right way, but they always just did a half-assed job. They always got, they maybe got one guy in but not the next guy in. And so overall, I just feel like with Barcelona, they need a strong hand. They need someone to come in and say, I don't give a what the chairman wants. I don't give a what his campaign promises were to members about who he was going to bring in. And I don't give a what you think you want. You need to let me rebuild the squad the right way, because otherwise what's going to happen is two years' time, Messi will start to decline.
And Suarez will be out as well.
Yeah, 2 years' time, Messi will start to decline, because age comes for everyone, and they will be shafted, because Messi this season has responded to the rest of the squad by being being bad and old, by being all things at all times, by being their best ball progressor, their best creator, their best dribbler, their best goal scorer.
Awesome.
If he hadn't done that this season, then I think they would have been in serious trouble.
Fair. I mean, Chris, what was your take on their sort of, it was pretty embarrassing, that second leg at Anfield and how it went. And that sort of humiliation, do you think how much do you think it threatens Valverde's job?
I'm still drunk. Right, the second leg. Okay, let's start with the second leg. Decent place to start. I mean, they were very unfortunate to get away from the Nou Camp, having not conceded a goal to Liverpool. Liverpool created some very, very good chances, and expected goals sort of dictates that Liverpool edged it over 2 legs and were probably deserved victors, but they're extremely unlucky in Barcelona. In particular, that James Milner chance, the Mo Salah chance. So that scoreline did flatter to deceive. It didn't take a thoughtful analyst to kind of extrapolate that from it. But in the home game, I mean, the only noteworthy change was perhaps, I mean, let's move on to the forwards later, but structurally, with Trent Alexander-Arnold, who was asking, far more of Jordi Alba. I understand why Jurgen Klopp was being a little bit more reserved away from home, but Trent Alexander-Arnold in this game was incredible, and in their UCL campaign in general has been incredible. Most chances created, most ball recoveries. I think he's pretty much up there with tackles and interceptions as well, and sort of quick thinking for that Divock Origi goal. So that was, great to see. But from a Barcelona perspective, let's not talk about the front three too much. How Shaqiri was a little bit more reserved, how Divock Origi came in for Firmino, because we do that on Sunday Vibes. But the midfield for Barcelona were completely overrun, and I've defended Rakitic and I've defended Busquets to the nth degree this campaign, and I do think Rakitic gets unfair flack from the Barcelona fans, because he was doing in that midfield what Messi has done for the whole team last year and at the start of this season as well, when they're extremely defensively suspect. At the start of the season, Barcelona were conceding like 1.3, 1.4 expected goals per game for the first 4, 5, 6 match weeks, and it was crazy, but he's brought that right down now. I think it's about 0.96, which is actually less than last season, so they're finishing off in a better run of form defensively than the entirety of last season, where we thought they were kind of pretty assured. Samuel Umtiti had to carry a lot of kind of the defensive plays, didn't he? But still, so they've improved in that regard, but it's made them more boring and it's made them more predictable, and it's only worked as a result of Messi, like Pat said, being absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. So when I saw Jordan Henderson, Wijnaldum and Fabinho just completely... Rakitic and Busquets could not follow their man. Jordan Henderson was arriving late in the box. They were getting just completely overran. I just thought, okay, this is where De Jong fits in. This is where you need someone who gives on both ends, going forward, going backwards, and he is that all-rounded, has that brilliant kind of skill set, doesn't he? And could be a generational talent. But again, you don't want him to become what Busquets has probably been for the last 3 or 4 years, wherein he's compensating for a lack of talent or coherence around him in the absence of Xavi, in the absence of Iniesta. So, like Pat has said, a couple of additions need to be made. It's not just let's bring in one, let's bring in two. Suarez down 25% on this time last year. And 1 Champions League goal all campaign. Absolutely insane. Yeah. De Ligt would be fantastic, but they've got to move Coutinho. Again, don't want to cover this because we do it on Sunday Vibes as well. Barcelona are obviously a hot topic, but they're not. They're going to have the same problem with him that Real Madrid are having with Gareth Bale at the moment. So yeah, there's system problems as well, isn't there? Valverde has been exceptional domestically.
Oh, you can say that again.
But the complexity, the rest of the league has been very kind to him in that regard. Amassed 93 points, only bested in recent memory by Luis Enrique's 94 points when they won the treble, almost went on the season unbeaten, obviously got beaten by Levante, is on the brink of doing a couple of doubles, so you're thinking, on paper, this looks incredible, but the underlying numbers reveal the worst Barcelona defence there's been in the last 10-15 years. And yeah, a disparity in what Messi is providing and what the rest of the team are, growing, which is exponentially, which is a really worrying trend. And would suggest that, if Valverde's spending all this money, admittedly they might not be his signings, and you do kind of sympathise with Barcelona managers in that you do feel like at any given point someone else is sticking their oar in. And it feels like that with a few other signings. But if you spend that amount of money and the team is getting a little bit worse, then it could be time for a change. I mean, I say as much on Sunday Vibes and Hot Takes. I said he's fine. He is a fine manager, but they're an exceptional club, and the fans want an exceptional brand of football, and I don't see it changing under Valverde. Safe pair of hands, almost like Ancelotti light.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to agree. It feels sort of inevitable that he'll leave at some stage. So I don't know why they just don't do it now when Allegri's potentially available. There seems like this is the ideal time to do that. I mean, obviously they'll struggle to get someone like the standard of someone like Pochettino, but he would be an excellent fit at Barcelona. Obviously with his ex-Espanyol links, he obviously wouldn't go to Barcelona. But this is, I think, is the time to change Valverde. They've lost 4 games in the league in 2 years. Potential back-to-back Copa del Reys, but at the same time, they've massively over-exceeded their expected goals. I think they've got 12 more points than they should have, according to XG, which is remarkable. They would finish with around 70 points, according to XG. And it's only the lack of competition in La Liga that has meant that they've managed to walk, the competition once again. But it confuses me. It seems like the president is making these transfers because I do not understand the lack of game time, particularly that he's giving to Ousmane Dembele. I don't think Coutinho is a natural fit in that Barcelona midfield. I don't think he's naturally worked as they expected. I think he's too much of an individualist to necessarily work in that Barcelona style of play.
I think more so than you two that he's probably still got a future there. And
Coutinho.
Yeah, I his numbers towards the end of the season have been really, really good. And when they fall back into defensive shape and they play that 4-4-2 and he kind of predominantly plays the left-hand side, it is much better and you can see it working. But then it is at the expense of Ousmane Dembele.
This is the problem. I feel like if I've got Coutinho, like I kind of have to move away from a really Barcelona system.
4-3-3,
the thing is, if they were to get someone like Rabiot in, then they could play Rabiot, De Jong and Coutinho, and I think it would work again. But my issue with Coutinho isn't that he's not been good when he plays. It's just that you can't really get him in without having to compensate somewhere else, and then you get all this this isn't the Barcelona way stuff. And that's the same thing with the manager. Like you say, Allegri's available, but does Allegri?
Barcelona, I think he's a massive step up.
He's the best. Yeah, but he's like the best Valverde.
Yeah.
He's a problem solver. He's like a pragmatist. What they want is an ideologue. I actually feel like
there's that many available.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Or they don't have the balls to go for them. Like Tuchel would have done it. Sarri actually would have done it. Sarri would have made loads of sense to me.
And when you were saying they need to bring in a manager who says fuck this. I was thinking Sarri in my head.
Yeah, Sarri, I think last season would have been perfect for them. He's going to play 4-3-3. He's going to play extremely attacking football. Barcelona have the personnel in a way that Chelsea don't. And I think sometimes we get into this idea of Barcelona are a really big club and therefore they need the best manager. And Sarri hasn't done as well at Chelsea as we maybe would have liked. But sometimes it's just about the right fit. And I feel like that would have been a great fit. I feel like Tuchel would be a great fit. Whereas someone like Allegri, while Allegri might be... You could argue he's a better manager than Sarri. I think a lot of people would. I don't think that he fits in quite the same way. He'd be great there. He'd win the league. He'd probably win the cup. Maybe he'd even win the Champions League. But I think that after a couple of years, again, it would start to pall because Barcelona fans would say, this isn't what we want. We want Cruyffian football. We want Guardiola football. Yeah. And in that sense, maybe they should just take a gamble on someone like Erik ten Hag or on Tuchel.
What I hope they don't do is the board go after someone with real Champions League pedigree because Messi wants to win the Champions League, that much. It's that important to him, and that's the only way he stays at the club. So they go after Allegri, who obviously has prospered in it in the last 2 or 3 years, and kind of in exchange for what the fans want and what I think all football purists and the neutral want to see from Barcelona, they kind of go for short to mid-term glory. Within Allegri for 1 to 2 years, while Messi kind of peters, the peak of his powers he comes down from the peak of his powers, should I say? So they've got big, brave decisions to make.
100%. It's a massive summer incoming, and I think they need a striker as well. Valverde looked at his bench on Tuesday night. Didn't have a single.
The substitutions were horrible.
Yeah, I totally agree. Kevin Prince Boateng, short-term loan, option to buy for 8 million. I'd pay 8 million to get rid of him. Honestly, what was the point in bringing him in? He's made 4 appearances since January. The idea was, it was to rest Suarez in La Liga. he hasn't been able to do that because he just does. He's not a Barcelona quality. I mean, he's a fine player at Sassuolo, but he's just not Barcelona quality. So I think they need to definitely bring in a striker. As Pat said, it looks like Jovic. All we're hearing is Real Madrid. There's talk of Griezmann, the Griezmann deal being reignited, but he rejected them last time. I don't really know what's changed there. I mean, I'm struggling to see.
But this is what I mean by a lack of joined up thinking. Like, if they'd thought about this a couple of years ago, they could have got a couple of young guys in, like, which is actually what they did with Paco, and then let them go. Like, they could have got a couple of young guys in, let them develop, or put them on loan for a couple of seasons, and now they could bring them back to the club and say, okay, what do we actually have, like, available to us? But instead, it's kind of like, right, okay, we'll wait till the last possible minute, and then we'll go and spend 60, 70 mil for whoever's around, and you're like, the sensible thing to do is to say, you know, like Watford are doing this better than them at the moment. Watford have got a couple of guys out on loan who are getting 10, 15 goals around Europe's top 5 leagues, who are 21 years old. Like, that's
what's the name of the guy in Germany?
Luca Bacchio.
That's it, yeah.
Like, this is the thing. Like, they could go and do this. They're Barcelona, but instead they kind of wait till the last minute and then they complain about not having enough money, and it's just silly, man.
Players they have bought in that kind of fit, you know, the Barcelona DNA, which is, you know, I cringe a little bit when we kind of have to really ram that down people's throats. Like Arthur from Gremio, who made a great impression when he first came in, has kind of seen the end of his season ebb and flow, you know, in terms of minutes off the bench. And whilst I don't kind of, not like the Vidal signing, but you think he warrants his place in the side. He's been good, he's performed well, but a signing like Vidal and playing a guy like Vidal seems quite simpatico for me to someone like he was with Allegri, to someone like Valverde, rather than being a Barcelona player or conducive to playing the Barcelona way. So they're getting into this pickle where they're bringing in good players who are playing well, but they're getting no closer towards the end goal that, you know, they've always strived for.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
And they're not honest with themselves about, like, the players they love and what their abilities now are. So, like, because Busquets is like a Barcelona icon, no one wants to say the reason that we're playing Rakitic and Vidal is because they need to cover for the fact that the Busquets cannot defend the way he used to. Like, there was a clip that went round of Busquets after the first leg against Liverpool, and it showed like a couple of nice touches he had, and then it cuts before he gives the ball away. And he did it time and time again, and he was shocking in the second leg. And I was getting accused of, like, anti-Busquets bias on Twitter, and I thought he's like the only player he's one of the few players I've truly loved at Barcelona. But, like, I love Busquets, but, like, it's very clear at this point that you're going to need to manage his game time because defensive midfielders don't tend to go on that much past 30.
Yeah.
Put some guys around him who can run, and then he'll be fine. But at the moment, like, in the first half of the Liverpool game, I actually thought that Busquets was the biggest problem. I thought that Vidal and Rakitic,
I thought Vidal was great
in the first half of that game at least, before they got overrun in the second half, were doing their level best to keep Barcelona, like, ticking over in midfield while the attackers just did what they could. They need to think about a life without Busquets now.
I thought Vidal was their best player in the new camp as well, except for Messi, obviously. But, I mean, also, I don't think Barcelona, to sort of conclude this sort of section, I don't think Barcelona are that far away, if I'm totally honest. They bring in De Jong this summer. They probably bring in De Ligt. Long-term replacement for Piqué sorted. He's 19. You've got potentially 12, 13 years of De Ligt in Barcelona. It's just awesome. And Joe made a good point in the office the other day. People will look back on this summer.
That didn't happen.
In 10 years' time. If they bring in De Ligt and De Jong in one summer, people will look back at this as a potentially iconic summer for Barcelona's future.
But then, like, next summer, they've still got no backup left back. Like, they've still got no backup left back. They've still got no backup to Suarez. Like,
linked with Alberto Moreno.
Yes, we might
What's Azia Del Horno doing these days?
Exactly. We might say, like, oh, well, look, like, these were two great signings, and they were great signings, but we might also look back at it like we did on Real Madrid's Galactica era, and we say, why didn't they win more stuff? Like, look at the players they had, and it's because they built the squad in a haphazard way. And more now, especially with Liverpool and Spurs, the success of Liverpool and Spurs shows you this season that system triumphs over individual quality. Even Messi has been knocked out by a superior team in the second leg, which was missing Salah, which was missing Firmino. And the reason is because they have a system that works. They're an intelligent side that work together. Would we have said that a Jordan Henderson-led midfield should beat Barcelona?
No.
but they did it because they've got a great manager and a great squad.
Fair. What a note to end on. Let's move on to big match preview. Right, the big match preview this weekend is Roma versus Juventus, which is taking place at 7:30 on Sunday night. Massive game for Roma. So they're currently 6th. They're level on points with AC Milan, only behind on goal difference. But they're only 3 points behind 4th place Atalanta. Atalanta are hosting 16th place Genoa on Saturday, whilst AC Milan travel to 13th place Fiorentina. So you'd expect at least Atalanta to win. So this is basically a massive game for Roma in particular. They've got Sassuolo away and Parma at home next. Chris, what are you thinking about Roma? Can they get this top 4 place?
They are crap and boring. That is what I currently think about Roma.
I don't know if they were boring because they were mental for the first half of the season.
Yeah. The defence just collapsed, didn't it?
Yeah.
Which is puzzling because I quite liked the defence the year before. I think they had the best shutout record in terms of clean sheets, or the second best, and then it all came undone at the start of the season.
Was this pure Alisson magic, do you think?
Yeah, potentially. But I've always kind of liked, I've only watched them in bits and bobs, but I've always kind of liked the pairing of Fazio, Manolas, probably just because, they score a lot from corners.
Fazio, for a Spurs reject, Fazio's done well.
But basically,
Paulinho.
So, going forward, they're still pretty productive, but still massively reliant on Dzeko. El Shaarawy is their top goal. So I say productive, they're taking 15.6 shots this season.
Pretty good.
9 per 90 days, 9.2 inside the box, which is the second best in the league. So they are actually working it into the box quite well, which is quite surprising given that El Shaarawy is their top goal scorer with 11, and their second top goal scorer is Kolarov and Dzeko. And Kolarov scored, I think the last time they won convincingly was against Cagliari, and they beat them 3-0. I think they've won 3 of the last 5, so okay form since Ranieri's come in.
I think they've been a little bit lucky. They've conceded 2 goals and about 5 expected goals in that time.
Also,
so
not playing the top brass either.
Sure.
So that definitely helps. We're all expecting Juventus win, right?
I don't know really. Juve have super taken their foot off the gas recently, but just with Roma, I feel like defensive midfield is the issue because Lorenzo Pellegrini in midfield, great. Brian Cristante, though I think he's out of this game, great. But then the defensive midfield is it's still De Rossi and then Nzonzi, and I just hate it. I just despise it. And also Kolarov, yes, Kolarov is great from set pieces. What the hell is Kolarov doing starting for this side at this stage of his career?
But he's still so important to them.
Yeah,
he is.
That's worrying.
Still super functional down that left-hand side. I think after it's Pellegrini, who is a don creatively. He is the one that's getting them into those good positions in the box. He's laying on around 3 key passes per 90, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
He's a great attacking force. Zaniolo, not watched an awful lot of him, but his numbers kind of look a little bit
mediocre.
Good, solid going forward and solid defensively as well. I feel like he's probably doing more defensively than is warranted or than he should, because he can contribute more going forward.
I don't really know what his position is though. He's not a winger.
I want to see as an attacking midfielder.
Sort of a lesser Dele Alli in a way.
Bit of a Bernard. I don't think he's a second striker. I think he's a bit of a Bernardo Silva.
He picks up quite good positions and he seems to be quite good around the box. But I'm not overwhelmed by Zaniolo so far. I'm not on the bandwagon as much as some.
I think he's missing this game anyway. I think he might be out of this game.
Really?
Yeah. There are a few key people missing. Obviously, Dybala might be missing as well.
Pat, what have you made of champions Juventus this year?
I think they're rubbish. I don't like them at all. I think that they've got.
We are fans of Serie A, by the way.
They've got the third, fourth best attack in Italy. That fourth, I think, behind Atalanta and behind Roma actually, for that matter. But their defence is always decent, but again, it's declined this season. The defence has been getting worse and worse over the last few years. But somehow, through just magic, I think they have quite a lot of guys between shooters and the goal. And Buffon had a really good kind of twilight of his career. Generally speaking, they've overperformed expected goals. But
yeah, you kind of put Chiellini's anticipation in there, don't you? He seems to just block everything.
But it's just very, very difficult to see what's great about them this season. They've pretty much sacrificed quite a lot of defence for the attack, but the attack still hasn't been spectacular. And the same in the Champions League. The defence was poor all season long. And you actually saw in the Champions League the disconnection now between what they think they are and what they are. So, for instance, they thought to themselves, against Ajax, we can just sit back and defend. And they just got rinsed.
No,
in the past, they used to say, we'll sit back and defend, and you could not get through them. They did that against Ajax this year, and Ajax cut them to ribbons. And actually, the year before, I think they were lucky to get away with it against Spurs, where they again sat back and said, just beat us. And Spurs did, relentlessly, again and again and again.
Yeah, and kind of that Higuain-Dybala partnership really dug them out at that point in time, didn't they? Because Higuain was coming to fetch the ball on the halfway line.
I was sort of waiting for them all Champions League to really come alive, but they actually had a really poor campaign. I mean, they lost to Man United. I think they lost to Valencia when Ronaldo got sent off.
They're just quite mediocre.
They really got torn apart by Ajax. It was one-sided.
I just want Gasperini and Atalanta to win the league.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Come on, 1920. Anyway, lads, let's have some predictions for this weekend. Sunday, 7:30. What do you think?
It
is at the Stadio Olimpico. Chris, what are you thinking?
Oh, I'm going to go for a really, really dull 1-1.
Yeah.
Come on, lads. Let's pray for some goals.
Yeah, but I don't know. Juventus have been rubbish recently, but Roma have been rubbish forever. And so, I don't know. I mean, maybe Ronaldo just bags a couple, 2-1.
Ronaldo penalty and a Fazio header.
Fair. Yeah, I don't know whether it's just Chris and I's hangovers, but we've been really negative all episode. I'm going for goals. 3-3 draw. Thriller at the Stadio Olimpico. Tune in Sunday, 7:30. Let's go on to quickfire questions. Right, first quickfire question comes in from Damish Bahal. Wow. Should Real Madrid go after Pogba or Eriksen? Christopher, initial thoughts?
Which one?
Pogba or Eriksen?
I mean, yeah, why not? If you can add them to your squad, sure, they're two blue chip signings, aren't they? They probably need a Pogba more so than an Eriksen at the moment because they've got creative force in Isco, who is still kind of in his pomp and should be playing because he is sick. And Pogba can do what he's been doing for Man United, which is playing every single position when necessary.
Fair. Pat?
Yeah, I bring Pogba in. I just want him to get out of Man United. He's never going to be appreciated there. He's turning into their Ozil, so send him off to Spain, and hopefully he'll win a couple of titles.
Do you guys think that even if, the rumoured price for Pogba is at least 160 million, Eriksen's over 100, do you think it makes a difference?
It feels like, despite the fact that Eriksen's got a year left on his contract, Levy's going to gouge so much that actually the price isn't going to be significantly different. So I'd probably just go for the one I prefer, which in this case, Pogba.
Fair. I love both of them, but I totally agree. I love the thought of Pogba and White at the Bernabeu.
I'd take James Maddison over Eriksen. How do you like that?
Ooh.
That's mental. That's a
hot take.
That's such a Brexity statement.
I'm so
right. We'll just do
confused
one
right now.
Final one, which comes in from B. Gianascoli. Is Tagliafico the most sought-after left-back in the world? Pato, do you rate your potential Arsenal signing?
What a boring question.
He seems all right.
Yeah,
he seems fine. I haven't been wowed by him. He looks like a left back and he's 26. If he was 19, I'd be like, yeah, sure. You look promising, but he's 26. If you're going to get a left back from an unfancied league, get Kieran Tierney. And also, is he the most sought after left back in the world? No, because I would rather have Ben Chilwell, and so would everyone.
Fair. Chris,
Kieran Tierney.
You're Unai Emery. Do you get Tierney, Chilwell, or Tagliafico?
I just get Tierney, whatever, and play him wherever.
Can't afford Chilwell.
He will be able to do it. What was great? Do appreciate these niche questions, but this is probably I'm not qualified to answer this at the moment.
Fair. That's the beers talking. Anyway, let's wrap up Continental Club for this week. Chris, what should the good people go and do now?
Oh, we've got Stat Wars to lead, we've got Stat Wars Champions. It's all coming to a head, isn't it? I believe you played Dave Jackson. Wonder what the result of that was.
Close.
Yeah, we're all desperate for a KFC. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.